Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Day 2 of FIE. My name is Habinda Maan. I'm the Associate Director of Trade Marketing at the Almond Board of California. The Almond Board of California represents the almost 7,600 growers and approximately 100 processors in California who actually produce and process about 80% of the world's supply of almonds. So I'm very excited to be here today, and I'm also going to be joined today by Dr. Thilo Hun, who is a food architect and entrepreneur at Renut. Okay, so what would we like to cover today? We're going to talk big picture. What are the opportunities for food waste streams? Why should we care? And then we'll talk about almonds specifically, about zero-waste farming and co-product utilization. And then we'll bring that to life with a case study where Thilo's going to really talk about how can we look at technologies to think about waste streams in different and new ways and create new and interesting products. But before I get started, I have a question for the audience. How much waste do you think, as a people, we create each year? Any ideas? Any guesses? Just guess. It is 1.3 billion tons. So it's over 1 billion tons of food waste that is lost or wasted during multiple points within the supply chain, everywhere from where you grow it to where you produce it and consume it. Well, what does that really mean, big picture? Well, that waste equates to about 25% of fresh water and fertilizer use for agriculture. It equates to about 8 to 10% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. Now, what do we do with that waste? Ultimately, it would be better not to create the waste, so prevent wasted food. But once you're growing food, what are other ways to prevent waste? Well, upcycling, using that waste. We're going to be feeding more than another billion people here by 2030. So if there's nutrition that we are losing in those waste streams, we want to make the maximum use of all of that. Okay, but what do consumers think? What do consumers care? So we work with Innova Market Insights to monitor new product introductions for California almonds, but we also use Innova to understand consumer ideas and sentiments. So we know that Europe is the strongest region for ethical and environmental claims. But then from a consumer perspective, sustainability is such a big topic, it's very hard for them to grasp. But waste is easy for them to grasp. It's a way that they know that they can make an impact. So waste and achieving different strategies to achieve zero waste is really going to drive into what consumers feel that they can do and be part of. We know that 60% of German consumers express an interest in buying upcycled foods. So again, we know that there is a market there for upcycled foods. And I have a very unique example to share with you. So when we create marzipan, we have to take the almond and we have to take the skins off the almond. What do we do with those brown skins? We worked with a chef in the US to create some ideas around that particular waste stream. We used TasteWise as an AI platform to understand what kinds of trends are we seeing. This particular chef cottoned on to chili oil. So chili oil is up 60% year on year in terms of consumer positive sentiment. He took the chili oil and the almond skins and created an almond chili crisp. It tastes amazing, but we're not losing all that nutrition in the brown skins, the fiber and the antioxidants. It's a very healthy product. Okay. So upcycling claims are also up 83% year on year. And within the Innova database, let's look at some of the products that we're seeing being launched. The first product here is regrained. So it's puffed chips that are created from the Sprint brewer's grain. This is a product from the USA. In China, Nescafe has created a tea and coffee fruit mix that is made from upcycled cascara, which is the fruit that coffee bean is grown in. So we're not losing that part of the fruit either. And then Gusto crisps from the UK. So fruit that's ugly, that nobody wants to eat or put on a shelf in a grocery store, we take that fruit and we create freeze-dried chips out of it. So there's lots and lots of opportunities for using these upcycled products. And Europe is the strongest region for ethical or environmental claims. Okay, so let's talk about the California almond industry. I'm going to talk about just a few of the highlights from this slide, but as an industry, zero waste is ingrained into the way that we grow almonds in California. So when we look at water, for example, we're at a point now where there's so much research and so much technology has been invested in, we're using about a third less water to grow the same crop. So it's more crop per drop. Micro-irrigation systems, on-demand irrigation. When we look at the crop itself, you're growing not just the kernel, you're growing the shell, and then a hull, and then around that, the woody biomass. And nothing there goes to waste. We think about the hull that itself, it's high in sugars, it's great for cattle feed. When we think about the shells, it's great for bedding. And then the trees. We're in a state in California, one of the most highly regulated states in the world, so we can no longer burn the trees at the end of their life. So what do? Have to be very creative and look at technology as ways to look at those trees and recycle those as well. So there is a new practice where you can take the whole tree, grind it down, and deep rip it back into the soil, so the carbon isn't released. It's brought back into the soil. So a real zero waste based of managing the orchards and the orchard floors. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the examples of those co-products and how we use them. But when we think about the almond hulls themselves, when we give those hulls to dairy feed, it means we don't have to grow other crops like alfalfa. And this is a great statistic that I love. So in California, almond hulls and dairy feed offset alfalfa use the equivalent to 667,000 sized swimming pools. The other novel uses for some of those co-products, we use those shells. We can torrefy those shells and strengthen post-consumer recycled plastics. We can create those liners. Almond hulls can be used as a growing medium for mushrooms. The other product used for growing mushrooms is peat. And peat is in declining supply. So again, another great use, innovative use of almonds. And then the actual trees themselves, we're looking at work where you can create fibers and cellulosic fibers very similar to viscose. But almond hulls as an upcycled ingredient is one that the industry has invested a lot of research into. Because they are high in sugars and antioxidants and polyphenols, what else could we do with them? So we have invested in research where we've created a powder out of the hulls, and we can create teas out of them. It's like I said, it's very high in fiber and antioxidants. It's great for bars and a lot of other different types of products. Again, the Almond Board of California invests in the research, and then this information, this technology, these resources are available to anybody that wants to take that and create their own products out of them. But I don't also want to shortchange the kernel itself. So the kernel itself, the brown skin, has a shelf life of about 2 years if managed under the right conditions. And so you have this amazing versatility of almonds. They come in whole almonds, almond spreads, almond flour, sliced, diced, for almost any application that you can think of. Plus, with that 2-year shelf life, you're getting research-based health benefits and micro and macronutrients that are unmatched by many other foods. So it's a very exciting product, a very exciting food that can be used in many different applications. Very, very excited about the waste streams. But as we think about how we're going to feed growing populations, I think it's really, really important to think about these waste streams. Upcycling is a great opportunity. And for those of you in here where almonds might not be the product, there are also, hopefully this might open your mind up to some other ideas with other foods that you might be using. And with that, I'm now going to hand it over to Thilo, who's going to talk about a particular case study that he has invested in as an entrepreneur, again, thinking about technology as a way of upcycling foods. Thilo, over to you.
Thank you, Almond. Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation to talk together with you, Harbinder, and the Almond boards of California about a process we recently developed. So welcome to Frankfurt. Yeah, it's my hometown, almost. I'm born. You can't hear me? I'm born in, no. I'm born in Rüdesheim. This is 65 kilometers down the Rhine. Yeah? So I'm a Hesse. Yeah? Welcome to Frankfurt. Yeah, as I said, we developed new processes. I'm working since almost 28 years in Switzerland, Zurich University for Applied Sciences in Wädenswil. And we discovered some processes for first grape processing, then chocolate processing, olive processing, coffee processing, and now processing the whole nuts. We already built a chocolate processing factory. This is an investment about 100 million Swiss francs in Freienbach, a capacity of around 5,000 tons a year. So I'm not talking here about some visions of a researcher. We did it. You all know from the media the challenges around our planetary boundaries. Even if we do not have a bigger population on Earth, the need for food is growing. And by having more wealth, people are really looking for good food. Luckily, all the societies around nutrition do propagate eating nuts and more fibers. So for Europe, we consume per head and day around 15 grams of dietary fibers. And we should eat the double or more fibers per day. And you know, one of the biggest problems in such products where nuts are used are often sugar. And the reason why using so much sugar in this foodstuff is sugar is the cheapest filler. But we identified even more cost-effective filler, which are the hard shells. We developed different processes, as I said. We moved from a recipe to a dynamic processing of raw materials from agricultural production. The secret lies in the change from batch processing to continuous processing, and we use big data to do a self-optimization of this processing. So this first factory, which was built in Freienbach, has the ability with more than 6,000 data points to do a self-optimization of the raw material used. And this is one point which is really overseen. Because of the climatic change, the composition of the raw material is changing. And the food industry is really relying on recipes. And if these recipes couldn't work out because of the difference in the raw material composition, you create more and more waste. Harbinder mentioned that. There's a big potential in using such material, and therefore we developed what we so-called exponential food technology. You can find some links in the presentation to publications, and we claim all streams are mainstream. You will understand in a moment what we mean if we talk about that. When it comes to waste, we already heard that. It's a lot. In Switzerland per year, we have produced waste about 180 kilograms per head per year. So this is really a big thing, and you see there is another average in the European Union. And the main point of producing waste are the individuals. So changing behavior is one of the possibilities, and another is to create new processes which are more sustainable or let's say regenerative processes to do not waste the side stream, but do an integrated upcycling of the side streams. You already heard, and there are some known examples of using the side streams. For example, cascara. This is very challenging when it comes to Europe. This was novel food. Today it's allowed to use cascara, but the usage of cascara was stopped, and then they have to undergo the challenges of EFSA to protect the consumer, but this takes you years and a lot of money. There are some other possibilities, a side stream from breweries, side stream from molasses, or whey to produce marvelous products out of it and reduce the CO2 footprint. Let me come to the renut technology. What we are doing is processing the whole shell. We developed different processes, process which is based on the usage of water continuously working, and a dry process, and we patented it worldwide. Our first application will be in the US, and we have the honor to collaborate with you, the Almond board, to find the first application site where we will do the processing in shell, that means with the whole nuts. This is like it works. Yeah? We have the almonds with shells, and this is per average around 50% mass by mass. We mill it with water down to the ground to a very small particle size where you couldn't feel any sandiness anymore. And this hard shells consists from cellulose, hemicellulose, a little bit of lignin, and some other very interesting cofactors. So as I said, this is novel food in Europe. We are on the way to get the permission of the EFSA, and we already got the permission in US, the self-GRAS permission. So if you come in 3 weeks to Sacramento, yeah, you will have the opportunity to taste the almond drink and the solids from our process. So first we do a debacterization of the surface to get rid of the microorganisms. So far we detected no residues from pesticides or heavy metals or something like that. We mill the whole nut down to the ground in different steps. And by using water in a portion of 1 to 4, we can then do the phase separation using continuous working decanter technology. Then you can get an almond oil out if you want, or process directly to a drink. So from these 5 parts, you get 3.5 parts of drink out of the system, which is really a marvelous drink with a high fat content. You can dilute it to the concentration of fat you want. And the solids contain the most of the fibers from the hard shell. That means that around 50%, it depends on the variety, contains of this flour, the fibers. And these fibers could be used for the application in bakery products or in spreads. Yeah? When it comes to chocolate spread, we did some trials. You know, the nut content is around 13% mass by mass. We doubled it because of the hard shell to 26 and reduced the sucrose content, which is around 52%. Yeah? By 13% points, and this means 25% less sugar in it, and the consumers loved it. Yeah? So reducing sugar with a natural ingredient by integrated upcycling, we call it incycling, could be a new way to reduce waste and use more of the good. At the end, it's like that. We have double the mass without planting any tree more. And we have the same footprint, and you know, this is really cost effective at the end, and healthy too. There's a lot of these shells in California. The almond board is representing 80% of the almond production. You can imagine. And this is really a cool thing, that they collaborate from the producers of the almonds about the processors to the final production of the end product. They have really a good organization between them all, so we can find places where such products are handled and our process could be applied. As I said, by doing so, with water, you get a drink with a concentration of 2 to 8% fat. The fat in the flour is, it depends on the process setting, between 15 and 35% fat. If you want, you can use a three-phase separation, then you can get the oil out of the nuts, and this is applicable on all the nuts you can imagine. It's not only almonds, it's hazelnuts, it's walnuts, it's pecan nuts, whatever you want. So a sugar reduction is possible. We have high fibers in the end product, and now we are starting to do all, not only the FDA GRAS procedure in US, we already started microbiome studies, because there are some interesting effects on some secondary plant metabolites in the hard shell, which affects, for example, the glucose level in blood and so on. So we started together with a colleague of mine, Professor Christian Ziener from Lübeck, some microbiome studies on that. Yeah, this is a content table of different products we made. So the most beautiful product is from Nonpareil, I can tell you. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't serve it here because it's not allowed. It's novel food because of the hard shell. You couldn't imagine, but it's a novel food. Nonpareil are very good almonds to create some wonderful drinks out of it, and having the flour for further processing. Yeah. There are different opportunities now for the application of these flours, and for the drinks too. We are talking, thanks to the Almond Board, to different companies who are interested. And as I said, in the next 3 weeks we are visiting again Sacramento to deepen the contact. Next year we want to start the first production in the US. Still looking for interest and potential partners, but we already started 2 years ago the process in Europe too, so we are expecting a reaction of the EFSA final reaction in 2026. And there will be a rollout for hazelnuts too. Yeah, the value chain, as I said, very well organized in the US, very interesting potential partners. We are talking to all of them, shown here. Yeah, the final message is it's really a value behind the so-called side streams. We don't call it side streams anymore, because in our view, all streams are mainstream. And you see, this is a new way of processing whole nuts. We were astonished that no one else before came to that idea, because we got granted patents on it. But now we want to really offer a solution to extract more of the good from a natural resource, bringing it to the market, which benefits the health of human beings and the environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? I've got a question for Harbinder. What, in your opinion, is the most innovative upcycled almond co-product that you've seen?
Wow, that's a really good question. So the industry is invested in all kinds of projects, from creating the bioplastics to renut, where they're actually using the whole nut and the shell. Some fun products, creating a lot of sugars in the hulls I talked about. We create almond beer out of that. So I think there's just, when he talks about innovation, there's just a wide variety of applications. The one that I'm really very excited about is creating the fiber out of the almond trees and cellulosic fibers like viscose. So I just think there's a lot, not just one innovative product.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
So may I invite you to our booth in the first level? So we are there. Please meet us at 3.1 L33, the USA pavilion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the show, guys.